Hello, educators. Once again, talking to his teacher, Dennis Kruger. I want to welcome you to our lecture 4 into mastering WordPress, develop WordPress, that is to use it to build websites. Just as you know through the curriculum, in our lecture for today, our topic is web design, layout, typography, and color theory. Our scope in this lecture is going to be guided by the following. One, we want to look at what fluid or liquid versus fixed layouts are and how important they can help us in website development. We want to look at visual hierarchy. How do we create a good site that has good breathing space? 3, I want us to look at how to use good font pairs. I want us to look at font units. We'll look at psychology of color. We'll conclude with hex codes or color schemes. As usual, I'll be going through the notes quickly, and then we'll use the other time to have the demonstrations. To begin with, normally when we are building websites, we need to consider in the choice of the layouts we're going to use. There are 2 types of layouts. We have layouts that are known as fluid or liquid, and then fixed layouts. I have a table here to help us have some idea, and later we'll get more through the demo. When we talk about fixed layouts, we mean layouts that have got a set width, like a website having a fixed width, maybe 960 pixels, 960 pixels, maybe 1200 pixels. So if a developer is building up a website and is going to use a fixed layout, he dictates the size of the web page. This means that this web page will remain consistent for all people. If a person opens it on phone, he will need the scroll bars, but the width is fixed. Even if he uses a tablet, uses a screen like desktops or like laptop screens, that width is normally the same. One associated risk here is that one needs to scroll, and there's also wastage of space on some screens. On the contrary, fluid or liquid layouts are those layouts that use percentages. We call them responsive, flexible units. In other words, if you build a website using a fluid layout, it means this website can adapt to different screens. By layout, I mean from the font to the content like images, and all you have on a web page should adapt to the different screens. So in a fluid layout, we don't use pixels, but we use units like percentages, EM, rems, and viewpoints. And today I will distinguish to you what these units mean. Percentage, EM, rem, you may have come across them in Gutenberg or Elementor when you are setting font size, or when you want to set the size of given components. So we can summarize and say, fixed layouts have a consistent look. They are the same on all screens. And we can conclude and also say they are easier to design because you just have to put content and that's all. In a fluid layout, we can summarize and say that the layout adapts to different screens. And for that reason, when you are building content, you need to specify the different units for different screens. Later, I will show you things like font clamps and so forth that can help our content, our information to scale up on the site accordingly. I'm going to demonstrate this shortly. Let's also look at visual hierarchy. When you visit a website, you want to have good readability. You want to scroll it and have a good user experience called user UX. To achieve good user experience or user readability, we recommend you to use things like space, size, and color while achieving visual hierarchy. So we can define visual hierarchy as the order in which the eye perceives elements, the way you organize your content on the website, the different colors you use, the size of the content you set from headings to other contents. In other words, all elements that your website has. There are techniques here that are very important to achieve a good hierarchy. The first is size. When you want to show that something is more important, then you consider giving it a heading, uh, like heading level, because normally heading levels have much attention. On my right here, I have a screenshot of Mac mobile website. You can clearly see that MacBook Air as a word is standing out. When a person visits a web page and is looking at, more attention is going to be put on this MacBook Air. So you can use this heading one to show that this is very important to capture attention, to show where a user has to focus most. Besides size, we can use color. If you check here, but this button learn more is in blue, and then this one is buy. So it therefore means that according to the developers, they want to draw more attention to learn more, because probably they want people to first see the details before they buy. Yeah? Maybe try to reduce the bounce rates and so forth. So we can use color by trying to utilize bright or bold colors to draw attention. MacBook Air, besides being large in size, is appearing in bold. So meaning it draws attention. So if you're going to create information on the web page, you may have to consider bolding some content, changing the color of some elements like buttons, maybe sections, to denote attention, to really show users that njagala wano obeera ng'oteeka ssira ebirala, this is more important. Besides that, there is contrast. By contrast, I mean varying the background and text. If you're going to have a light background, then the words should be darker. In other words, to provide good readability. If you're having a background color, then the words or this text should appear in different colors. So that is also a technique of drawing hierarchy, of putting emphasis. Besides that, we have position. Elements that are normally in the top or in the center have good attention. They can be noticed or identified quickly. So in the web development, some content is normally centered, but the goal in determining which to center is dependent on which is very pressing. So we'll be having a demonstration in the later session to show us how this is achieved. But I believe even with this little theory, you can now implement good visual hierarchy in terms of size and color. What I've not talked about here is space. If you check this example, around the items, we have macro and micro space. We can define macro space as the wider space away from the items. Like on this web page, on top, I have some space. On the left, I have some space. On the right, I have some space. In between the lines of text, I have somewhat space. In between the lines, you see there's some space. So besides size and color, space can also create hierarchy. So it is important that you create good breathing space from your elements by creating space or using space. To achieve visual hierarchy, we have to know about the box theory. It's called box model in web design. Almost all the content on the website is in box theory or box model. I'll be demonstrating to you, but let's get the theory. Every element in a web page is essentially in a box, and this box has elements like content, heading, border, and margins. The content is the information you are building, the one that you are writing, an image, a video, text, and so forth. Immediately after that content, we have padding, and then we have border and margin. So there are times when you are, while editing your web content or your information in the website, you want to create space between lines, you want to create space between information itself or between the margins. So proper use of these elements can really create good feeling, can really promote good readability, and really create good professionalism. So I'll be demonstrating to you how the box model work, and almost all the practical things we're going to have today will be talking about the box model. Today I'll make demonstrations in Gutenberg, but later in week 4, I'll be showing you Elementor, how we can use the box model in Elementor. Just hang on a little bit as I go over the theory and we go to practicals. Also, in our discussion, I want us to talk about fonts, font types. You can call it font faces. You see, when you're having information like text in a website, you're going to use fonts to illustrate your content. I don't want to define fonts now, but I just want to put attention on the available types of fonts and how best we can use them. We have a role to always select pairs. You want some font type to be the headings, and you want some font to be the body. And this is done just automatically once in the settings, and then you allow all the content to have that font. So there are two types of fonts I want to show you here. The first type of font is called serif. Serif fonts are those fonts that have small decorative lines or extensions at the end of their characters. Most of the serifs, if you check very well, they have at least tails or have decorative lines around them. We'll give examples shortly. On the other hand, we have sans serif. Sans, according to the root word, means without. So sans serif fonts are those fonts that do not have decorative lines or tails. You write a letter and it is just clear as it is. So where can you use serifs and where can you use the sans serifs? Let me just illustrate a little bit here. Just as you saw, in appearance, serifs are formal. They are traditional and elegant. They work very well for headings. And you know, at times when you're having maybe a book, you're compiling long form content, maybe a magazine, you can also use serifs for the body. Examples here of most of the serifs you have used is Times New Roman, Georgia, Meriwether, and Baskerville. I'll give at least recommendations on which to use. On the contrary, sans serifs are clean. You see, this is a clean. So in appearance, we can say they're clean, modern, and straightforward. Best use recommendation would recommend that on the website, you use them for body content. Why? They provide good reading experiences on all devices. Whereas serifs can be good for body, when a person is going to view them on a mobile phone, they have to strain. These decorative lines or the tails can deter someone from reading information on a small screen, especially if it is long. So for that reason, we want to recommend you to use serif fonts for headings and sans for the body or the information. To just illustrate, I have Arial, Helvetica, Roboto, and Open Sans as examples. The good thing is if you'll stick to the end of the lecture, I'm going to give you some websites, some references, where you can get some good font pairs. Because you see, making decision is normally tough. For you to be in position to make a good decision of which font pairs to use, it means you're going to take research probably of the different fonts of serifs that exist, and daily there are many people who are creating different fonts. So I will show you some references where you can select some font pairs. However, if you are stuck, this is the guide. You want to select good fonts for your heading. Meriwether can make good headings. Roboto can make good body fonts. So this is just a suggestion to you, just as you are stranded to make a decision. We have a very good decorative font called Playfair Display. You can use it for heading. It can be best paired with Open Sans as the one for body. I have Libri Basque Villa. This can also be good heading, but works well when you compare it or you pair it with Montserrat. Georgia can be best used for heading if you're going to compare or pair it with Helvetica. Among others, those are examples. Only what is left is for me to show you websites where you can pick pairs of your choice and make use if you don't want to use my recommendations. The other thing I want to talk about is psychology of color. You'll permit me, I'm going over the theory quickly, then I will expect that knowledge you have, then we use it for practical demonstrations. What do you mean by psychology of color? No, color psychology refers to the study of how different colors influence human emotions, behaviors, or perceptions. You know, color is one of the big problems that disturbs graphic designers, web developers, and people who are building up like graphics, in other words. So in choice of your colors, you need to be very, very critical because color conveys mood, attraction, and can trigger psychological responses. If it is important, you always have to do research to determine appropriate colors to use, finding out from the logos of the companies or doing background interviews to determine the choice of the or the brand colors companies are associated for. However, here I wanted to just illustrate to you how understanding these colors can help you to select good colors for using on your websites as backgrounds, as font colors themselves. I have an image here illustrating different colors and what that color represents. I have cool colors and warm colors. For example, red color evokes energy, urgency, and passion. You saw that in my illustration somewhere. If you are creating maybe Apple here on their website, you see some color they're using blue. Now, the choice of the color you are using can determine the kind of action you are communicating, where companies don't have colors. If you're using blue, maybe as a background, it means you are depicting trust, you are showing calm, professionalism. It is common in finance. Most of the financial institutions are associated partially with blue colors in either their brand, in their logo, to show trust. Red cells, we can use it in call to action buttons, in setting maybe some some headings or some backgrounds. We can create gradients, and I will show you how you can create gradients. But if you're going to use red, it means this is what you are communicating. Green is for growth, health, and eco-friendly. You're building maybe a website for maybe a farming institution, maybe a group associated with farm, then green can be good. Okay. Somebody is asking a question. Madam Peace? Peaceful? Your microphone is open, please. Okay. We have black. Black is elegance, power, luxury. There's no day you will visit a website and you don't find either font colors, the words are in black, or the footer is in black. Almost all designers will have black somewhere to show elegance and power. And of course, black and white are very vital in any design. White means simplicity, cleanliness, and we use it for spacing items. That's little I can give about colors. You just have to wait a little bit. A little recommendation for colors. You should always know your target audience. Tailor your color choices based on emotions. Find out from the company about the appropriate brand colors, the logo, and use the font colors, the background, factoring in their colors. 2, brand consistency. We normally have to select colors, like I've said, depending on the brand colors of organizations. 3, color accessibility. You see, last week in our lectures, we talked about web content accessibility guidelines. Irrespective of the color you choose, you must allow users to read. That means you should have contrast. You should show. You should show some transparency. You should allow people. You should allow users to contrast the colors. And then, of course, pairing colors. You should always make sure that you combine. What do I mean by combination? You cannot have the same color of fonts as the same color as the background. So the combination of the colors should allow people to read the content. The final thing here, I'm going to skip it because we'll be discussing it practically. These are the units we have while working or measuring different content. Pixels are normally fixed. They are not scalable. EM are relative to the parent. Rem stands for relative to the root. Percentage relative to the container size. VW means view width, viewpoint for the width. VH means view point for the height. So VW and VH are based on the viewpoint width and height. All right, let's try to do some demonstration because the rest of the content here is purely practical. We're going to start with fluid and fixed layouts. So what I would do is to show you a website here. I have Craigslist. It took me a lot of time to get websites that are fixed. Most of the websites online today are fluid. Throughout this course, I'll be showing you fluid because even with the SEO recommendations or suggestions we gave last time, there was emphasis that we always maximize what? Mobile responsiveness. So how do fixed layouts look like? I have one website here. And if I try to adjust it accordingly to different sizes, you'll see what happens. So this is the desktop view. If I try to reduce it on different screen, you realize that even at tablet mode here, the size is still the same. You can only try to adjust using the scroll bars. Still, if you try to reduce it, the size does not change. It still remains the same. So for fixed layouts, the width is normally standard. And you set it at the beginning when you are developing a website, just as you have seen in this illustration of a Craig website. I want to show you other websites. Any website you think about, maybe Apple, like we visited, or even if I visit mine, which is Teacher Dennis Kruger, you realize it is fluid. How do fluid websites look like? If you try to adjust and reduce or view it on different screen, several things are adjusted. What do I mean? You look at the fonts. Let me try to increase it again. Pay closer attention to this image. Pay closer attention to this heading, Apple event. Let me reduce it. Look at the size of the logo or that image. Look at the word Apple. The size appears big on some screen. When you reduce the size of the screen, or when you view the website on different devices, content reduces to adopt that size. This does not happen automatically. If you are going to implement fluid layouts, besides using a theme that allows you to adapt, you need to use units like percentages, EM, REM, and viewpoint elsewhere. So that means from the words, rather fonts, or from the elements, you don't use pixels because pixels are fixed. Whenever you use pixels, it means you want something to remain that same position whenever it still is adjusted. iPhone here is big. When I reduce it, the size of the word reduces, the buttons reduce, including the pictures themselves. You can generalize all websites, including mine here, by reducing it. See, the image reduces accordingly to suit. Initially, everything is big. When I reduce it, everything reduces. That is from the fonts to the image accordingly. So it's important that you know about fluid in a design. All right, let me try to show this quickly and we go on. I'm going to combine the demonstration for layout and fluid with visual hierarchy. Let's also see about Apple again, and we compare with the original websites we visited previously. Now, besides utilizing fluid layout, Apple has good visual hierarchy. In visual hierarchy, we have just seen in the notes that you need to command some content to be bigger, some content to be in brighter colors, some others to be in minimal colors. You need to center some position. So if I try to open the Apple website for demonstration for you to see, you will see that quickly here, the iPhone is bolded. The size is bigger than the other content. This button is in a different color. This one is in another color. And on hover, you see there are different actions. This one is in a different color. Even spacing between the items is just good enough compared to the other websites we have seen. Last week we visited, in our previous lecture, we visited different websites that you saw were not what? We are not responsive. Okay. So it is important that as you create items, maybe headings, body, you center some items, you vary the font colors, you make some content to be heading and others to be smaller. You, when choosing these buttons, when you're going to create call to actions, make some buttons to be different colors and others other colors. The one that you feel you want to show or you want to draw more attention or emphasize to users that this is very important, give it a different color so that it is clearly visible on glance accordingly by the users, just as you've seen. About the box model also, I want to demonstrate here before we go to the practical as well. I told you all the content on the website is in a box model. So if I want to access developer tools, if you're using Chrome browser, On my keyboard, I just press F12. If I don't press F12, if I press F12, they will give me developer tools here. If you can't press F12, you can just right click and then select inspect. That gives you opportunity to see developer tools. In the developer tools, we have elements, we have console, sources, network, and so many things. The very first thing I want to show is under the elements here, because I've told you in my slide that all the elements on a web page are in box model. All the elements are in box model. So on this website of Apple, this is the picture. And if I move to it, you can see it's in a box, it's in a rectangular form. All the content, even if I try to move here, you see this is a box, this is a box, this is a box. And to help you understand the box model, under the styles here, if I try to scroll down, you'll see the box model. So they're using the box model to control the padding, the border, and the margin, and probably even the positioning, because the box model will tell you the standard resolution. For example, this image, it is 734 by 500 pixels. And there is no padding around it. There is no border around it, but there is 334 away from the margins. Let me give an example here that you can probably see here. Let me right click and inspect this as well. And I show you something here. So every content on the web page is in box model. To access it, you just move the cursor. I've moved to the heading here, and it is an H1 heading, but it is in the box model. To see the properties to this element, I can scroll under styles. At the bottom of it, I will get the box model, so I can know the fonts somebody used, the colors somebody's used on that element, but I can also see the box model by knowing the padding that was used, the borders, the margins, and so forth. So according to this, there is no margin. Save where there's 00 here. There's margin everywhere. This image, if I hover on it, the properties or the features in the box model will also be displayed. So as we create our content today, I'll be demonstrating to you here how you can use the box model here. But it's important that at least to portray good readability, you try to create good spacing between the items, either using margins or padding. And also you try to analyze different elements on the websites that you have benchmarked to use as examples. That is by utilizing the developer tools. Without wasting time here, I'm going to go back to my WordPress studio and we try out a few things here. If I go to my WordPress studio, last week I created a website called Reading Room, or in the previous lecture, if you attended, we set up this website together. If I try to open the website, it is still the same site that we created. This was the front page that you people worked on. And I want to log in still using the WordPress studio. I'll click on WP admin. So if I click on WP admin, automatically I'll be redirected to the dashboard. To illustrate to you the box model, I'm going to go to posts here. Even page, let me use pages. Let me go to pages here and I click on all pages. I want to edit this page together with you so that we can try to illustrate something. Last week, we created at least some pages about us, contacts. So I would hope creating pages is not difficult. I'm going to paste some content here because I believe this is still similar. I'll paste some content. All right. The content I've pasted, I have a heading here, but still a paragraph. I have some paragraph here. Now, I want to make this one an heading. To make it an heading, I've clicked on it because when I pasted, everything has come as a paragraph. So I'll click on this content. From this floating menu, I click on transform. This first element, I click on it and I transform it to a heading. I just have to click on heading. Still following the guidelines last week, I guided that you should not have very many H1s. In hierarchy, we should leave H1 to be for the heading, the title of the page. The other headings you're having are either H2, H3. So don't make this again H1. However, you can increase its size. If you look at the settings you have, I told you every element you click on, there's a floating menu which has options to control it. If you want more settings, on the extreme right, you can always click on settings here. And under settings, where there's size here, by default, this is the size, but you can vary the sizes. In case you want to make it bigger, you can always scroll, either make it large. Let me first break them. I'm going to undo it using this tool. You can also press Ctrl Z. I'll undo it. And I want to create some space here. I want to break this so that they are not the same. So I've broken it so that they are different. When I click on the heading, I'm going to go on my extreme right where the size. I will choose just large size to show you something. And remember, I want to show you box model and how it works. So even when it is not practical, I'm going to apply a border around these elements so that we can control them similarly. Let me use medium. I think this is too big. I'll use medium. So how do I apply borders here? I'm going to make this content to have borders to help us understand the box model and probably how to use it. So while this heading is selected, or the item is selected, on my extreme right, where there are settings, where there is blog, if you scroll, we have color as the first attribute. I have topography, then I have border. So I'm going to click on the plus sign to select border. And after selecting border, I'm just going to choose any color to be the border. Don't ask me the purpose. It's not even good to have borders, but I want us to use these borders around to understand what box model refers to. I'm going to do the same for this paragraph. I've clicked on it and still I'll proceed to block here. On the extreme right, I click on border and I'll click on border. I try to choose the color as border here. Pixel is just one. Let me put 4 pixels. No, 4 is big. 2. Finally, let me also make this to have the same border to help us understand the box mode as well. So currently, our content is in this box is who we are. It is surrounded by the border. You may want to create some space within the content. So if you want to create space just after the content, you need padding. Padding refers to the amount of white space between the content and the border. For example, if I go again on my extreme right where there is block under the settings for this block, and then I scroll down, instead of these dimensions, I'm going to click on these dots here, the dots on typography. No. I'm going to click to add, and then I select padding. You can always click the plus sign to select the dimension. So far, we only have border. So if I click the plus sign, I can select margin. And maybe let's begin with, I'll click again to add padding. So we have two grouping of paddings. We have bottom and top, top and left. Under bottom and top, currently the units are in pixels. If I try to enlarge this, you see, they'll create some gaps from the top and the bottom. Where do we normally use padding? We utilize padding if we want to create space inside the element. On the Apple website here, we would say, like inside this element, there is no padding, but there are some margins. There are some margins around the content. The margins are 334 on the left and negative 400 on the right. In this case here, let me also try to increase them vertically here, rather horizontally. So there are times when you are creating your content and you want it to be in the center of a box, like you want to have some gap between the content and the border. Use padding to create gaps. You can quickly consider either increasing horizontally, increasing vertically. I'll first remove this completely and also make some recommendation. There are times when you want to create padding on the top, still using Gutenberg, you can unlink. When you click on padding, they'll give you padding, which is top and bottom, left and right. If your interest is to increase on the top, then you have to click on unlink, so that the top and the bottom are delinked and not connected together. By default, the unit will always be pixels, but you can click here and switch units, either pixels, LEM, REM, and shortly I'll be explaining these in details, what they are. But using pixels, if I try to increase this, you see we can create some gaps on the top. So that is padding. How about margins? According to this illustration in this box model, margin refers to the space outside the border. We use margins to create space between elements. You go to a website of your choice and you see that there are some gaps between the elements, like this. On this heading, you realize there's some space between this heading and the body. They are not together, they are not really piled or connected together. There is some gap, including the apple. You realize that after every element, there is some spacing. So to create space between elements, we use margins. For example, if I wanted to create space between this element and this, I click on the element, go to my settings on the extreme right. Under the dimensions, I go and open the margins. After I've opened margins, still they'll be linked, top and bottom together, left and right together. The unit by default is a pixel. Let me try to increase this. If I increase, you see, they will try to create gaps between the content or the elements. So we use margins to create space between elements or between sections. And for our case, you can always either link them. Maybe if your interest is to increase space on the top, you unlink. And when you unlink, it means you can either increase only on the top or you can only increase space on the bottom. That is away from the element. Let me hope that helps you understand the box model. The only thing left is to practically implement. To avoid clutter, it is important. Previously, we've been using spacer. If I click on the block inserter on top here, and I search for spacer, we have one of the elements called spacer. If I drag it and put it where I want to create some space, I can try to create gaps between elements using spacer. So This is what we have been using, and some people are still using it to create space between sections. Maybe you want to show this is the about us section on the home page. This is maybe the blog section. This is having this section. So you can separate or create breathing or create visual hierarchy in terms of space using either a spacer. If you don't use a spacer, you use margins. Margins refers to the space outside the border, and padding refers to the space created inside the border, like the space between the content and the border. Whereas margin is space created outside the border to separate us from the elements. So still this demonstration helps us. The only thing I'm left to give you here is a recommendation, probably how professional can always create good what space, but at least I believe you understand that for all the elements on the website, they are always in boxes or rendered as box. So when creating them, you need to set some padding, you need to set some margins away from it to provide good readability, provide good visual hierarchy, and good professionalism. Next, in hierarchy, I'm going to demonstrate also about fonts. Earlier on, we've learned that there are serifs and sans serifs. And we've seen that there is a decision, there is a role we have to always choose a good pair, some fonts to be sans serifs and some others. So some fonts to be for headings and others to be body. Sorry about that. In my notes I'll be sharing with you, if you watch the video, there will be the video description later if you watch online. We have some sites have recommended. Because you'll be using WordPress Studio, you can always access Site Editor to add your fonts directly from the WordPress Studio. You can just click on Site Studio and automatically they will redirect you to the Site Editor where you can add styles. If you check here under styles, if you forgot to get here, still using the dashboard, you can go to Appearance and click on Editor. And after that, you access the same thing that we have just seen. Click on Styles. So under Styles, we have Typography. Under Typography, we have fonts. By default, when you install your website, rather when you create your local website, rather, and you add a template or a theme, the themes will always come with fonts that have been recommended by the person who prepared the theme. So you can either work with the same theme fonts or you can change the fonts within that theme you've downloaded. For my case, to remind you, last week we downloaded the theme, and inside that theme, there are some styles. If I can show you, there are two fonts. There was Inter and Pompins. This one I just added it, and I will show you how to add fonts as well in your theme. So when you've added your fonts, the next thing is for you to set headings, captions, buttons. You select the fonts that can be used for this. Before I show you how to upload fonts in your website so that you practically do it, I'm first going to show you where you can download the fonts and probably where you can get suitable font pairs you can use for your website. So I've given you two references. I've given you fonts.google.com. This is for you to download fonts where you want to. Maybe if I click on this one, I'll be redirected to fonts.google.com. Okay, it's opening up in the browser here. So using this website, you can always download any font of your choice, and I'll quickly be demonstrating to us how to download. The other very important reference I've given you is fontpair.co. This one can help you at least choose good font pairs to work with. Let me also open it so that you can see how it works as well. I've clicked on it and I want it to open as we wait for it. Okay. Still it is popping up. Okay, it has finally popped up. So the website is fontpair.co. You don't have to strain cramming this URL because it is already in the notes that I've provided for you. So using this website, there are many discoveries they give us of different fonts you can use for your website. If you scroll down, there is a section for exploring pairings. In this, they even give you a demonstration how they look like. Here they have paired ASAP with ASAP condensed with ASAP. You see, Albert, this is Alio and Albert Sans. So from the look, this is already serif. Why? It has at least a decorative line or tail around it. And if you look at the body here, this is a sun. So if you are thinking of an appropriate web font to use or a pair, here is one of them. You can make your headings to be in Alio as a serif, and you can make Albert Sans to be the one for the body. And we've said sans serifs for them are clean, they are non-decorative, they are without the tails or the decorative lines, good for the body content. I can scroll and check through very many. If you're going to build using code, you can always just copy the code and share it with, rather include it in your website. So let's just choose a pair, one of it to use here. You can even always click view more so that you see how they are suggested to you. I'm going to pick a pair here. If you have seen one which is good, you can also unmute and recommend. Avo can be paired with Montserrat. Avo is good for headings and Montserrat is good for the body. It's not good, and I should not find you colleagues doing it. Some of members have been doing it. You set fonts for every content. Maybe you're creating a page. It's not good at all to be setting fonts for every element you create on a website. It is just important for you to set the fonts in the settings so that all the content as you create automatically will have those fonts. So let's agree on the clear process on how we can download now one font. Any person on call to unmute and suggest one from the ones that you are seeing here? We have different pairs. Let me have a person recommend here. I have Neuto with Neuto Sans. This is for the headings, and one of it is for the body. Any person to unmute and recommend from what they are seeing on my screen? I have Roboto Condensed as one for the heading, and the other four. Anybody to recommend here one? Or we should just choose. Okay. Can I ask any person? Yes? Yes, please. Madam Peace has recommended Roboto. Okay, it's good. So we have Roboto Condensed and Roboto as the plain one. Roboto Condensed is the one you're going to use for the headings because it is serif. And then Roboto is the one you're going to use for the body. So in case you have seen such a font, you'll copy it as it is. And then you proceed to the website I showed you. This is fonts.google.com. Of course, you can always install fonts live if you have internet. Remember, we are leveraging WordPress Studio for offline access. If you have internet, you just have to proceed to your style editor, go to styles, and then go to typography. Click on these options here. Click on manage fonts. and then proceed to click on install. This is when you have internet and you want to search live from the repository from Google Direct. But in case you don't have internet, or you are going to consider downloading and then later bring it to your site for local access, then you visit fonts.google.com. That's the first thing. Second thing, you paste your font you have searched here in the search box. Rather, we paste it here in the search. Before we even search, you scroll down and then click on variable. Because if you don't select variable, then there's going to be very many suggestions for Roboto. You'll get very many fonts. You'll have to download at least for different categories. But the easiest way is to download a font which can vary according to your need by scrolling down and selecting variable. Next, you click search, or you press enter on your keyboard to initiate the search. Automatically the font, if you've selected variable, they will bring to you one font. If I uncheck here and then I search without the variable, Roboto is fortunately only appearing once. Even with variable here, I think this is still unique. The choice Madame P suggested has no variant, but other fonts have different variants. If you don't select variable, you'll have to download all the variants, just as you'll see here in the live console. If I search for, say, let me put in a font like, what is my suggested font? I want to pick another one which is not Roboto, and I probably bring out that idea to you. I'm going to select a pair which is not. Now we choose one here before we download. Okay, I'm going to select Lola, and I'm going to search live on internet using WordPress editor. And when I click on Lola, you see there will be very many variants. There's this one, Lola, for 400 pixels, 500 pixels, 600, 700. Without selecting variable, you have to download all these because the fonts cannot vary. The easiest way of installing fonts, my friends who are watching, when you navigate to fonts.google.com, scroll at the bottom and select variable to allow you download one font which can vary, which can grow according to your pixels or your weight. Now, how do I download? Of course, I click on the fonts and then I select get fonts. When I click get fonts, I'll just have to select the one I want. Roboto Condensed is here. So I click on download, and automatically my download will be saved in the associated place where all the downloads will go. So mine, by default, all my downloads go to download. So I've downloaded Roboto here, and I want us to upload it to our website and use it for headings as a setting. First step, download. Second step, unzip it. How do you unzip? You can right click on the font, and after that, you select extract. Select the path where you're going to be saved, or where you want it to be saved, and then click extract. So my font has been extracted still to downloads, and the folder is still Roboto Condensed. Finally, now, how do you upload the font to your website? You have downloaded it, you have unzipped it. Please return to your site editor and then return to styles. Okay. Under styles, click on typography. Under fonts, click on this manage fonts. And instead of now clicking on install, click on upload. And then click on upload. Browse. That means you should remember where you saved your fonts. and then click on, I'm going to select Roboto Condense, the variable font. Then I click open to allow my font to be added. Let me download another one for our pair. Our pair was having, if you don't lose out, our pair was having Roboto Condensed, and which one was the other one? Roboto was the other. There were two. We had Roboto Condensed and Roboto, the general font. So I'm also going to search for Roboto. So I go back to Google. Thank you, Innocent. How long have I been unmuted? Innocent, can you unmute and give me feedback for really communicating very?
It is from the second font you were adding, from the time you were looking for it before you uploaded it. Yeah.
All right.
So it's like, I think, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Exactly. Thank you. We uploaded
All
similar.
right.
We go to styles. Under styles, we click on manage fonts and then upload it by selecting upload and then add it, then close. Immediately after you have uploaded your fonts and you can see them in the preview, proceed to the elements. Click on headings. Under the headings, select the appropriate font for the heading and click Save Changes. Unfortunately, I'd already added that, so I can't save. Let me just proceed and change the one for text. When I click on text, you realize that according to the theme I downloaded or the theme I installed, it was using Inter for the body. I can proceed from here and select Roboto and then click on review changes, click save. So immediately you add your fonts, please proceed and set the elements. And elements are very many. Besides even the headings I've talked about, you can select the font for links, font for captions, font for buttons from the very pair that you have downloaded. I think this summarizes the fonts, unless a person has a question. But two recommendations: either use the online search console or download and upload. Two websites shared, fonts.google and also fonts.co to get the pairs. So that's briefly about the fonts. Allow me also proceed to colors, and I also make some demonstration. On colors, we had seen that there is always need for you to find a color that suits your preference or that suits the purpose of the website you're building, depicting psychology of the color. We have recommended or we have looked through different colors. Using the lesson slides you'll have, I have put 3 websites from which you can choose your colors from or have guidance about colors. The very first is color.co. Let me navigate to it and you see, rather it's coolers.co. Now, when you navigate to coolers.co will help you create palettes. When adding colors to our websites, if I go to appearance and I select editor here, under editor, under styles, we have colors. So normally we use color palettes. So when you download a theme will come with a color palette. And we can create a color palette by using a website like coolers.co. I like this website because it has tools to even allow you to upload the logo. If you use image picker, you can upload the logo and automatically they will create for you a palette. They will suggest the colors that can match that logo. But if you are good at creating colors, you can create your own palettes. If you are stuck, you can click on Start Generator, and then they will try to give you different palettes here to use. So in this palette, I have about different colors. I have this color, this color, this color, and this color as well. Huh? So I don't know if that is good to you, you can use it. But should it not be good, still you can proceed and try to explore different palettes from this website. Because for the theme that we installed, I've just shown you that it had different palettes. It had this primary, it had the primary color, and it had accent color. So when you're going to download when you're going to select colors for your palette, allow me to talk about this also briefly. All the color swatches or color palettes include a primary color, a secondary or accent color. The secondary color is normally used for highlights, for buttons, and for call to actions. The primary color, when you choose a color which is to be the primary, to be used for background and the main area. And then we have other neutral or other colors. In the later session this week, I'm going to show you how AI can also help us to generate colors, because color disturbs. Even with this website, you are seeing making a choice is sometimes difficult. So it is important you use things like logos, you upload an image, and then this website can help you to generate the colors. Because if you select image picker, you can upload a logo and then they will suggest for you some colors to use. Let me generalize in the interest of time. Irrespective of the palette you're going to create, one, there should be a primary color. Let me click on one of it here. I've just clicked on this palette and let me use this one. So you can choose a color to be the primary color, choose another color to be the secondary color, and now add it on your website. The little demonstration I want to make here is how we put it on the website, because the decision is not going to be made right now. Why? There are factors we have to put in our case. So to add your color, if you have determined a color which is good for you, to add the colors in your web page under the appearance and under the editor, you can proceed to styles, click on the colors, click on the palette, and now edit these colors. How do you edit? You click on the color and then paste here the color you have found very important. Let's just try to use an example from what we have already visited, where is coolers somewhere here. Is it in a new tab? All right, I think it's here in the new tab. Coolers. We've just seen one. I think it is this one. I just want to click on one of it and I come and paste it in a new document. This one. Sorry, a little bit here. I want to retrieve the web page. Okay, yeah. I'm locating my page coolers. Okay. And I wanted to just pick one palette to use here. Okay, I've this random one. So in case you've seen it and you want to use this palette, you pick on the color, select the color, copy it by pressing Ctrl+C or right-click copy, return to your website, click on the color, and then paste there the color accordingly. Still proceed to change all these colors from the primary colors. I've told you, accent colors are used for call to actions, buttons, and so forth. So when you want to dictate the color of your buttons, put the accents. You want to change the primary color, click on the palette, and then go and choose a color that you feel you want to use, copy the color, and then go and paste it accordingly in your web page accordingly. When you are sure you've done everything, so after you've pasted your color and edited all these ones, because you're supposed to add colors here, but it's important you always have a white color somewhere, some black color, and when everything is done, just click review changes and click save. So that is added everywhere. So past website I've recommended to you is coolers.co to check out on colors. Please try out. I have another one which is color.adobe.com. Color.adobe.com will also help you in selecting colors for use on your website. I'll use the free plan, meaning I'm going to click continue with Google. I'll select my account. Whenever you visit most of these websites, they will ask you to create an account. Don't fear, please create accounts. So again, using color.adobe, you can try to browse colors of your choice, and automatically they will create for you at least a palette of colors to choose from. So I want you to try out in your free time using this color wheel. You see, if I try to rotate here, they will suggest for me appropriate colors to use on my in my palette by giving you the hex codes. Your role is to just copy this hex code, go back to styles, and then add it accordingly. If you don't use that, you can also use the Canva color wheel. Let me also show you how it looks like. Canva. I'll copy this link here and I will try to open Canva. So 3 websites for you to explore and make a decision. In the Canva color wheel, you can try to move around the different colors as automatically they give you the hex codes here to use in your palette. Actually, you can pick this color and take it to colors. Use that very color to generate a color palette or to create a color swatch. So you can pick that color and bring it to this website to test out the colors of that very preference. Okay, participants, I think this is good enough. If you have any question, please, I would now invite you to ask as I summarize with font units. I've talked about colors, I've talked about font pairs, gave so many recommendations here. You're the one to make a decision. And in our use case later next week, because next week we'll have a complete website built in Gutenberg applying all these principles. But for this 2 weeks, I'm giving generic guidance on the rules, general guidance to follow. Any person having a question there, you're free to unmute and ask for me to continue. Innocent, Mr. Lubega team, my brother Peter and Pace.
Okay, thank you so much for the coverage that you have covered. My question would come in a way that once these fonts are downloaded, because most of the time one may not be accessing internet. So I've downloaded my fonts and they are on my local disk. So what if I want to upload? Can they get uploaded without internet connection?
Absolutely.
That is one. Then two, when you are copying the code, yes, at that level where you are now. After me copying the hexa code, how do I add it there? That step I did not get it well. So for now, those are my two questions. Yes.
Good. So you head to appearance, go to editor, go to styles. I'm beginning with the last question. Click on colors. So they will show you the palette which the theme is using. So you just have to click edit palette and then edit these colors. How do you edit it? If you want to edit accents, that means color for the buttons. Click on accent. Paste your color code here, your hexa code that you have researched or probably got good to use. If you want to change the other colors, maybe the background, according to our theme, the background is white. You can put a color here as a hexa code to control the entire website with the primary color as well. So let me hope that answers your question. Second question, WordPress Studio does not require internet to operate. Two, if you've downloaded your fonts, you can upload them without internet by going to styles and then go to typography, click on manage fonts here and then select upload fonts. If you've already unzipped, you can just click upload and then select the appropriate font of your choice, click add. When you've added, you conclude by going to elements here and then click on every element to set it according to that preference. That is setting the appropriate font for the body. For the body, you will see text. Headings, you will have a label headings. So you click and then select the font you want to be for the heading. Whenever you make changes, you have to make sure you proceed to click review changes. It is this review that can allow you to save. If you forget to click review, it means next time you go back, you'll not find those changes. You just have to click save. Maybe let me try to open the front end of the website so that you see what we have tried to improve. Now, I'm going to inspect to check the font here. I'll right click here. Then I select inspect or press F12 on my keyboard. I'm going to use the styles here. Under the styles, if I try to scroll down to look for the font that is being used, the font, according to the changes I've just made, I've put pop-ins while I was demonstrating to you. I added pop-ins. But if I try to scroll for other sections and I look for the font under these elements, where is font? Just using the developer tools. You know, you can get a website when it is nice. So to check the fonts that website is using, just always right click and select inspect and pick the fonts accordingly. So this is using Pompins, the one that I've just put. I wanted the heading. You see, having changed the colors, I tried to change the color and you see now my colors changed. You see, while I was demonstrating, I didn't put a good color and it is not rhyming with the font color accordingly. But I want to look for a heading somewhere and use this check. If I scroll down, font family still is Inter, meaning I didn't save. Let me try to go back to my WordPress. I click on appearance, then click on editor. Thereafter, I'm going to select styles. By the way, the appropriate page I should even have used to demonstrate. I'm going to click on headings. Heading is Roboto here. So let me try to visit this website again. And I try to open a page like about us, the content we have just created. So I'm going to open the website and I want to go to about us page here. Okay. I'm going to right click and select inspect. After inspecting, I'm going to hover on the element. Remember, we agreed all elements are in form of box. So I'll hover on this element. Okay. After hovering on it, I scroll down to check the font that is being used. Font. Body, no. Font size, font family. Okay, are you seeing here font family? If I can zoom a little bit, font family, it is showing Roboto. I don't know whether you see here. For the body, if I hover it under font family, the color, the font is Roboto because we applied Roboto as the font family. So I think this summarizes. If I click on this heading and I also try to scroll H1, it was H1, H2, and the font family we used was Roboto Condensed. Let me look for the appropriate heading level and I scroll down and look for the font. Still is showing Roboto Condensed. If I hover on it, H1, H2, H3, H4 is using Roboto Condensed. So that's how you expect to determine the fonts your website is having. It is 3:30 and I'm supposed to conclude. Let me use like 5 minutes to show you about the font units as a demonstration, and that will be all for today. Allow me try to edit this page because we're using about us page here for some illustrations. So far, I've explained to you the box model using this page. But the other element I want to talk about briefly here are font units. The first unit we have is pixels. And we've said pixels are fixed units. When I click on a given item, let me try to add an image here. I'll click the plus sign, click on image. I'm going to click media library and I'll select a picture here to help you understand it. So if I click on a picture under block, then I scroll down here where there's width and height. The default unit is a pixel. We are saying pixels are fixed units. So if I try to put a dimension of my pictures, maybe 320 to 400, Let me make 200. Please, this I'm using just for demonstration to see what fixed pixels mean. Yeah? So if you set your pixel, your units or your size in terms of pixels, you expect that your content to be fixed. I'm going to click save, and I'm going to view this page alone in a new tab. Next, I'm going to try to vary sizes, and you see, currently it is on desktop. On the desktop, if I right click and inspect it, you'll see the size will still remain, the size, let me scroll down. The size will be 320 to 200 pixels. I have adjusted, and it will not change to any unit. If I try to scroll, let me just use I will not inspect in the interest of time. I'm just going to scroll the window to show you. So this is mobile. Even if I try to enlarge to tablet, the picture, rather the size of that picture will remain 320 by 200 pixels. So when you use pixels as your units, you don't expect that element you've used pixels to change. Why? Pixels as a unit do not change. They are always fixed. They are not scalable. They don't grow or adjust according to sizes. It applies the same to fonts. If I click on, am I in edit mode? If I go back to edit mode and I click on any element, even if paragraph, let me click on paragraph and I go to block and I go to text. So for size, by default, you're seeing it is 16 pixels applied by the fluid layout. Earlier on, I told you most of the themes we download use fluid layout, means they scale, they adjust according to sizes. If I again view this and show back to you accordingly, you see, this is a heading. If I try to enlarge this screen, see the fonts are not changing. Why are they not changing? Because they're in pixels. That's what I wanted you to see. In case you want to create fluid or you want to make everything adjust according to sizes, then we use a unit, either EM, rem, percentage, VH, or VW. Let me talk briefly about rem and then EM. Rem refers to relative to the root. And the root size, if you're creating fonts, the standard font for the heading or the root is normally 16 pixels. I'm going to again go back to size here and I show you. The standard font is 1 pixel. I've provided some download for you. There's a document I've prepared I'm going to give you, which at least explains those fonts. Where is that document? Have I opened it here? At least I have prepared different sizes to explain or to illustrate to you accordingly. Let me just demonstrate it live here. I'm going to try to select line height to allow us to understand. And we're going to change the size of this to a rem. Let me stick to size here. Okay. Remember, by default it was a pixel. If I try to click rem and I increase it, by default is 1 rem because that is the standard size of a pixel, the 16 pixels. If you make 2 rems, it means it will be the pixels, it will be 2 times 16. 1 rem is equal to 16 pixels. The root of font sizes, by default, 1 rem is equal to 1 pixels. So we use rems where we want the size to adjust accordingly. I'm going to click on the heading here, and I'm going to, instead of making it pixel, I'm going to make it to become a rem. So I'll click on size to reset, and under the size here, I'm going to select rem. I'm going to give it 2 rems. 2 rems. Okay, let's make it 3 rems, and then I click save. Now, I would expect a person here to know the pixels we have used here. 3 rems means 3 times 16. I'm going to click save, and I preview it to show you how rems are very, very important in fluid layouts. So this is the desktop version. In other words, the larger screen. If I try to reduce the size of this out, I expect it to reduce. I expect it to reduce. It's not reducing. Okay, there could be something under appearance. You go back. Let me check here. And styles, we have layout. I want to check here. Wait a little bit here. And the layout, where? Okay, let me show something. Styles, typography, headings. There could be a reason why it is not adjusting. This should be in just part of the settings that I have to communicate out. However, to not waste time here, I've said use rems for consistency, and in all the demonstrations I'll be making later, we're not going to be using pixels, we'll be using rems. So you'll see something like we'll make rems maybe 2, maybe body will stick to 1. The reason we'll be using rem is because we want to allow consistency, or want the layout to be fluid, want us to adjust want the design to adjust according to the sizes as we keep viewing it on different screens. How about percentage? If rem uses the root, how about percentages? Still, I will return to this page we are trying over. I'll have to click on edit page because we had previewed it. To help you understand percentages, I need to create some parent. I am going to add some column here. Let me add a row, because some of these elements can be understood if they are compared to something. So I have 2 rows here. I have 1 row. Okay, let me remove it and use columns. I'll put a / select columns. So I'm going to select 2 columns. 1 column is this, and then the second column is here. Out of these columns, on the extreme right here, I have width. By default is in pixels. I may want this section or this column to be 70% of the entire width of the window. You cannot achieve that in pixels, but rather percentages can be helpful. So to achieve that, you click on your column, and then on the extreme right, you click on block, go under width, select percentages, and then put the appropriate percentage you want to use. We shall actually use this later when we are creating a header. In creating a header, you may create like 2 columns. One column will have the navigation, and then one column will have other content, so like the social icons. So to achieve that, you set one of the column to be percentage. This percentage is of the width of the pixel of the entire window, because you don't want to calculate, or you may even don't know the size of the entire window. So if you don't know the size of the window, you use percentages to set sizes. Maybe let this section be percentage of this of the entire section. So automatically, if this is 70, then the other column, you will give it the pixels, rather give it the unit of percentage and select 30. In a nutshell, we would say we use percentages to set elements to a given ratio of the entire parent. So the parent can be a box. Maybe you have a box like this column I've set here. Let me just put color so that you see it. I'll go to the extreme right under advanced here. I'll add, I want to add a border so that it can be visible. Let me add border, maybe say black. And this one, I'm also going to click on it. Rather, I'll click these dots, click on style, and add a border. Okay. So you may have an element inside, like inside this, I can have 2 columns also. Inside the main column, you can have smaller elements. Or when creating a menu, you can use percentages to divide the window in 2 different locations without using pixels, but setting percentages of the general parent. Allow me end there for that element. I'll give an example in the next lecture about percentages, but we shall use percentages of the entire container of the entire parent. The parent can be the width, can be a box, and so forth. How about viewpoint and VH and VW? For VH and VW, you use it when you want to set a given block to either the width or the height. Let me give example of this paragraph. If I go to block under the margins, I want to look at margins here. So I'm going to go to dimensions, select margins. I will switch the units. How do I switch the units? I'm going to click on these dots and switch the units to view width. By view width, it means I'm going to control the left and the right border. If you're going to control the top and the bottom, then the unit you're going to consider using is VH. By VH, it means you want to control this element against the entire window. How? If I try to enlarge this using VH, no, the unit has not been set to what I want. If I put VH, anything I put here will be set according to the height of either the window in terms of width or in terms of the section. So VH means you're controlling the height of the entire window. Giving an example, if I put a value here, like 50, if maybe I want the entire window to be displaying this paragraph only, that means I will be controlling the view height. So view height is a unit you use to control the height of the element across the entire window. You can use between 0 to 100, because you may want to make it completely big, or you may want it to make it smaller, but according the height of the window. The same to VH. We use VH if we want to control the width of an element. according to the entire screen. If you select VH as a unit, it means you want to compare the width of the entire window. So anything you put here, and if I also put 50, it means that element will be put or will be selected or be displayed according to the size or the width of the window. That's a lot of theory. However, we shall be putting these theories to explanations. It is just tough explaining them. And I hope with that little explanation, with those little demonstrations, you have at least a background on what REM. Currently, I know you are stalling about REM. I've talked about the root being 16. There are still questions about 16 and varying it. So the next lecture later, when we are creating our reference document, we'll try to use REMs, and I will try to practically show it as we put it on different use case. Thank you for listening. I'm going to stop here for today. Today's discussion has had layout, typography, and color. Very, very strange and complex things when you're developing a website. I want to hope that it has helped you. If you watch the video later, you're free to drop a comment or ask questions using the comments. So those of us who are live right now, I now want to welcome your comments. If you have any question, please ask. If there is a comment, please ask. But good thing is, I'll give the references. I'm going to give the references. Feel free to read deep about the realms, about the VH and pixels, like I did in the previous lecture for the others. Any person having a comment, please give the comment or ask the question accordingly as we end here. All right. Thank you, Madam Pace, for the compliment. Virtual, I've seen the reaction. If there is none, then I'm going to invite a volunteer to lead us in a prayer. Tomorrow, rather on Wednesday, our lecture will be discussing planning website content. Some of these things we are talking are difficult to implement. So I will show you how to use wireframes, and we'll be using Figma to at least try to create some layouts that we can easily implement. Some of you during the registration indicated that it is difficult to build other pages like about, contact, especially when you are not having what? A template. We realize, or we have seen in all our research, that it is easier to edit this template, which comes on the home page. How about now adding information on the other page? So normally we can quickly do that by using wireframes. Wireframes can help us to plan which content we intend to put on the website and how we intend to organize. So meaning we'll discuss layouts deeper and then try to use Figma to create somewhat simple layouts we can later use next week in Gutenberg as we build our website. If there is no any question, I will invite a volunteer to give us a closing prayer as we end up our class today.
Okay, we can get humble to pray.
All right.
Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for bringing us this far from the beginning, where we started at 4 up to 5, coming to 6, Father. We pray that whatever we have learned, may it be of good knowledge to us, that we understand it. And also those who have not joined, Father, we pray that next time they can join. We pray for our tutor who has used his energy, who has used his wisdom to share with us what he has, so that we can also change our mindset on website development. As we leave from here, or as we depart from this platform, may we live in peace, so that when we meet up on Wednesday. We give back glory to you, Father. In Jesus' mighty name, I pray and believe. Amen.
Thank you, colleagues, for attending. Let's meet on Wednesday to look at wireframe tools like Figma. Have a good session. This video will be available after edit to use as a reference. Through the WhatsApp group, we'll share the references shortly. Thank you.